Welcome to Sports Trebuchet, issue number 10. We've made it. I can't believe it.
We did it.
We did it. It only took 20 weeks.
Yeah. Guys, let's retire.
We're going to go out on top. This is going to be the last
episode. We did a whole
decade. Nasser, you're only here for 3 of them, aren't you?
4, I think.
4? Well, welcome back again.
Well, thank you for having me.
Guys, thanks for listening. If you're new, we've got an exciting show.
God help you.
God help you is right. I mentioned in the last episode we're doing a new thing per episode. We're going to have a rotation of corners. So it's where one of us kind of gets 10 or 15 minutes to talk about whatever we want, pitch something to the rest of the team, or they can just go off on a diatribe, whatever they decide to do. Today is the NASS report. It's NASS's turn, which we're all very excited about.
We don't know what's going to happen.
We have no idea. So NASA, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up? How's everybody doing today?
Doing well.
Good. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for picking me to be.
You're part of the podcast now. Just
okay.
Yeah. So I mean, like,
You're not a guest.
I just want to keep welcoming you back specifically.
I did sign that contract. So thank you.
Time out. My name's Marty.
I'm Kyle.
Josh.
And I'm Anthony.
All right, cool. Totally
cool.
forgot that. That's great. All right, go ahead.
All right, first I want to go off and I have a couple of predictions in the sports world.
Oh boy.
Okay. So
Sandman Anthony Nasta. Put your bets in.
Sunday, we all know, is Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
And of course, I would really like to see the Rams win because they have an offensive tackle on the team. What's his name? He played.
Do they?
Well, they have a couple.
One offensive
They have
tackle.
one offensive tackle, but no, this guy, I forgot his name.
The left tackle, the right tackle.
His career was with Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, Whitworth.
Yes, first playoff victory was
This year.
yeah, this year. So I like to see him actually win a ring because he's been in the league for a very long time. But I will have to say that I will like to see the GOAT get the 6th ring.
Again.
This is what you're dedicating your corner to.
I'm going off of predictions in sports.
I'm so glad it's going to be
facts.
6 weeks till you do it again.
So, second, moving on. We all know that in the NFC and AFC championship games there was some controversy. One of the controversy is that pass interference call. Fine, call it what you want to. But let me tell you, the Saints lost that game. Not that blown call, because if we all recall, the first play of the game, Golf threw an interception in their own red zone, and the Saints were only able to get 3 points out of it. Held them to 3 and out, got the ball again, drove all the way down the field. The Saints had got another 3 damn points. And towards the end of the game, Sean, the bounty hunter Peyton, actually.
Is he related to Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's actually his long lost brother, believe it or not. But no, and he decided not to run the clock out. So Sean Payton decided not to run the clock out, wanted to get fancy and throw some passing plays, and the clock kept stopping. So now he gave too much time for the Rams to go down the field. So you know what, Saints? Who dat? You're not that. Ass faces.
Okay.
Second, I will say this: I'm a strong believer. We all watch football here, and Josh even watches Americanized football as well.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
I like how it's Americanized. Like we took what you had, and we're just like, what if though we picked it up? Like I wasn't just. Like,
I have a proposal
What if we just
for.
picked it up and changed every rule in the rule book?
I have a proposal for Roger Goodell. I think that each coach should stick with their normal flag, for
Challenging plays.
Challenging plays.
Yeah.
I also think now they should give them another flag that strictly you can actually challenge a penalty. If it's a holding, if it's an offsides call, if it's a rough in the passer, whatever the case may be, because we all know now during the KC game, Brady actually did not really get hit in the head at all. And actually, that was a 15-yard, I think, roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer.
So that pretty much cost that game as well. So no one really is talking about that. So I just feel that they should give coaches that one, if you want to do it in the first quarter, first play of the game because of a holding that was missed, then that's it. You wasted your one free because it is a game of humans out there, and you're giving referees all this power. I think you should have one challenge play.
So I guess I don't hate the idea, but I think what you'd have to do is make it so the coach challenging would have to say, I'm challenging that left tackle number 72 held our player.
Yeah, that he has to
versus it being like a play review, and it's like, I wanted to review pass interference on the defense.
No.
And then like someone else was holding, and then being like, well, yeah, there was a penalty, so they're just holding on this linebacker.
You can only challenge one
You can only
thing.
challenge one thing.
You could
Yeah, I
only challenge
think
the
that'd be
foul you
brilliant.
think was committed.
Yes.
Exactly.
I think that would be smart.
And you can challenge also the referee blowing that whistle on that, or not blowing.
Well, that's tricky because
yeah.
you can't reset a live ball.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, it's still a possession.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's a possession thing, if it's
Sure.
like, I guess it'd be tricky, right? Because if they did like, if you threw a lateral, and the referee blows it dead because he thinks it's an incomplete forward pass, if you challenged it, you still can't. There's still no proof that you would have recovered the ball.
I mean, it's the
Yeah,
same.
that would be a stupid thing to challenge.
Yeah.
It was the same in that Bears game against the Eagles.
I think it
we
should
weren't allowed
be.
to recover a live ball because the refs stopped Fuller from
Thought it was a forward.
grabbing it.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to go and get it, and the refs told him no, that play's dead. And actually, the play was live, and he would have just walked into the end zone with
Yeah.
it.
I think it should be. I hear you. I know there's a lot of gray areas. So that was one of my proposals, which I don't know if that will ever happen. Maybe.
You live in the gray area. That's what it should be called. It's
The
the
gray
gray
area.
area, not Nass's.
Another is that I am predicting that the New York Yankees will have a better record. No, I'm sorry. Will finish further in the playoffs than was Boston Red Cox.
I hope that no matter what we're talking about in any episode, you find a way to put down the entire city of Boston. I would
Yeah.
like to add
I
that
think you would.
challenge between the Boston Bean Eaters and the Boston Red Cox.
But I am cheering for the Patriots now. Maybe because they.
Because
I don't understand your
conflicted
allegiances
individual.
over here.
Yeah, you're really difficult to
You're-
figure out.
You're as fickle as they come.
What
Rick.
else?
Ew.
I will say that Mariano Rivera, I think, well deserved to be anonymously.
You think he deserved it more than Barry Bonds?
Who, Mr. Juice?
Everybody. I mean,
I mean, the guy was the best.
is Clemens in the Hall
No.
yet?
No, or Schillen. Or I mean, I think they
Well,
should be.
Schilling's a cunt.
Yeah, he is.
Schilling is a
he is.
cunt.
He is. Him and that fake ketchup pack in this freaking sock.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
shit. They look like sriracha sauce.
It was, yeah. It was,
I think it was. I think that's what made
Dabbing
sriracha
Tabasco.
famous, actually.
It's just a Roger.
Kurt Sriracha Lilling.
I've heard a lot of blowback about Rivera being unanimously, being the first one to be unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame.
Was it unanimous?
Yes, it's the first time that's ever happened.
Ever.
Yeah, because there's always one guy that's just like, that's
And I-
never
And there's some Boston writers too in that.
Yeah.
Right. And they
Well,
picked him.
there's always somebody that brings up, well, Ty Cobb wasn't unanimously put in, or Mickey Mantle, or Ted Williams,
Babe
or
Ruth,
Babe Ruth,
yeah.
Ron Gary, and yeah, there's a litany of people, but
Yeah, but most of those guys couldn't like win a starting role on a high school team now.
it's I don't know.
Babe Ruth couldn't start for Charlotte Independent baseball.
It's the Knights, isn't it?
I meant the Charlotte Independent High School.
Oh, okay.
Independence.
Oh, the Patriots. Yeah, that's what they're called.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay, then no wonder you don't.
No, I'm not a big fan of the Independents.
But yeah, I just don't think that it's fair to say that nobody should be unanimously voted in because nobody in the past was. I don't like
True.
because let's face it, the old writers, they were dicks. Like
Some of them
doing
were
stuff.
dicks.
Yeah, they're doing stuff off of.
I will say.
prejudices.
What was it?
and-
2 years ago, Stephen Curry was the first
Unanimous. MVP.
unanimously. MVP, I think. Which, right? Something like that?
Sure.
I think that was a crock. I mean, because this is how I look at it real quick. LeBron. I'm using LeBron as an example. You can put LeBron right now today on the New York Knicks before this trade that just happened. The New York Knicks suck. LeBron's going to take them to the playoffs. Maybe to the Eastern Conference Finals. You put Steph Curry on maybe to the second round.
Playoffs. Sucks.
Fine.
Eastern Conference.
But you put Steph Curry on the Knicks. They might not make the playoffs. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Steph Curry, he has a great team around him. What did Steph Curry do before he got Klay Thomas and all these other clowns? You know?
He shot lights out.
But they weren't in the... Who knew Golden State? Who didn't even know who the hell Golden State Warriors were until this team started being...
No, I see what you're saying.
If Steph Curry was the only player on that Warriors team and they were playing in the East, he would have been a 3 seed. Him not being able to get it until he got other people is speaking to the conference. Because the Western Conference 8 team is the second best team in the East. Almost any season.
I just think...
But I think he's right. I think the top-class, world-class all-stars, regardless of where you are, there are two types of them. There are ones that are great within a team and ones that grab a team by the scruff of their neck and drag them to success. Yes.
And LeBron James is one of those guys.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, when LeBron, Kobe, all the players before Steph were not... Jordan... They weren't
all completely different types of players.
I know, but
so that's the point,
right?
Well,
he's not
Bird.
Steph doesn't drive the basket the way that Jordan did, Kobe did, and Kobe wasn't that good. But James Harden does now.
By that argument, it seems like you wouldn't want Rivera to be unanimously voted in.
I think if
did he deserve it? Yes. Right, like clearly.
Oh, he deserved to be first ballot.
I think But the thing is
that he was the first one to be unanimously voted in.
But his ERA in the playoffs under 1. Well, I think it got to 1 at the end.
After the Rangers let him up.
Yeah.
He was a great closer.
New York Rangers?
No.
He was the best closer ever, as far as I'm concerned. He did it with one.
I like Trevor Hoffman.
Trevor Hoffman was awesome.
But
Dear Gagne. Denny Eckersley was great. But yeah, Rivera was the best closer of all time, as far as I'm concerned. Weird that he would be the first one to be unanimously voted in. I think that there would have been less blowback if it was somebody like a Jeter or...
He's also a brand, though, too, right? Like, he got over with... Yeah, I mean, like, in the sense of...
Under Armour?
No, like... He's the Sandman, right? Like, he...
Rivera, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's... So, like, he's got a gimmick, even. You know what I mean?
It makes it any better, though. I've never heard of this guy, but I've heard of Gio.
This guy has 2 pitches only, pretty much. He uses.
That's because Rivera didn't sleep with, like, everybody in New York City.
He was very quiet.
Jeter was tabloid.
Jeter was the man.
I guess that's where he made his name across.
Let me tell you,
because that's where you can see his name on things for like a year. Sometimes, but you don't see this guy's name
because he's also really reserved. Right? And where's he from?
Right, and that's going to be a difference.
Jeter is from.
I don't think I've ever heard. I swear to God, I've never heard.
Is he from Dominican
Republic? Should I tell you who else is?
Panama.
I think he's Panama.
I think he's from Panama. All right, well. Let's move forward.
Are you done?
No, I got 2 more.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
All right, now this is quick. I want everybody's opinion. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Beckham's really reserved too, and yet you've all heard of him.
He married a Spice Girl.
And he does model.
Yeah, maybe that was the problem.
If Mariana Rivera married...
And which Spice Girl did he marry?
Posh
Spice, yeah.
Victoria.
All right, let's go you next time.
Right.
I'm sorry.
This is for everybody in this room. Just a minute each. And we'll start with Marty.
We don't have a minute each.
We'll do 30 seconds each.
30 seconds each. Kobe or LeBron?
LeBron, hands down. Kobe. LeBron never raped a woman, so there you go. But also, Kobe's never actually carried a deadbeat team, and LeBron has.
True.
LeBron's a more complete player.
I don't follow basketball, but LeBron's going to be in the next Space Jam.
I think so.
Say Yao Ming.
Kobe's a volume shooter. LeBron gets his entire team involved.
True.
Both ballers. LeBron makes everybody better around him.
Gotcha. And my last thing I'll have to say in the Naster's Corner is that I know you guys can't really see us facially, and I have no hair on my head. But I have to say, we have a guy in this room who has the prettiest comb over in all of Avid Exchange, and that is Josh.
Comb over.
Yes.
Come over implies that he's bald underneath.
No, I mean like that. And Josh knows I always gave this guy compliments because if I had hair on my head, I want to have Josh's hairstyle.
God, I got a goddamn haircut this week, and I was like, "Ooh, someone noticed," and then he fucking just says, "Josh."
Your ass
Yo, and I mean this seriously, and I think Josh can vouch. When every time Josh gets hit, I always friggin' and no.
He always used to
What
say
he's saying is
that.
that he thinks that Josh is way prettier than you, Marty.
Yes.
I tend to agree.
I am hashtag hair goals
Yeah.
for Nastas.
Like no shit. If I had hair, I would definitely have the comb over with the little line in it.
I'm gonna demand that every Nastas report ends with him complimenting one of us about something.
No, you're next on the
Like, I
list.
really love
You're gonna have to
your
wait 4
mustache.
weeks or 4 sessions. All right, that's all I got.
Thank you, Anthony.
Oh, you're welcome.
Nasta, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Before we get to the main course, we wanted to
Comb
go
over.
and talk about the comb over.
Don't be blushing, Josh.
I can't
Talk
help
about
it.
who won our NFL playoff picks that we made in episode 8, in issue 8. Josh tracked them, so he's the only one that knows who won.
Yep. And it's a tale of woe for all 4 of us.
You
Frankly.
all suck.
I'm gonna give last place to Nasta.
I was expecting me.
And the reason I'm going to give it to Nasta is because he was consistently in last place throughout the tournament and he never moved from there. So that's why he's keeping it. He got 5 out of 8 correct. Everything just went horribly wrong for him, but he did get his Rams in there. So he's sat happy with the Rams. Kyle, also 5 out of 8.
Well, it was fucking terrible.
Yeah, not great.
The opposite of great.
Unfortunately, we have a tie for first place.
You and I?
And we're both sitting on 6 out of 8.
The best come-overs, you might even say, in the room.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to really decide on a way to put a decider on here for me and you.
Flip a coin.
I don't know whether that's a case of I would prefer some
mud wrestling.
AAF bet early on so we can report back, but it's up to you because there can only be one.
Okay, well, how about we do this? We
Yes, Highlander.
Alliance of American Football team scores more in their first week wins.
Deal.
So,
Yep.
You're playing Birmingham, I'm playing, Orlando's playing Atlanta.
What a way to end an NFL bet by having it determined by an entirely different league.
And also segue perfectly into our next segment. Because it's a shame we're all shit at picking. Maybe we're better at picking. Yeah. So we wanted to do. I went to Reddit actually and asked a question on the AAF subreddit, and I got a few responses that I'm going to kind of address as they pertain to the team. The question I asked was, "What's the biggest question mark for the team you support?" Basically, what are you most worried about? And I'm going to do my best to answer some of those.
The biggest question is, who the fuck are we? We're a new league.
Yeah.
New phone, who dis?
Yeah, how do I watch you on TV? So there's only 4 questions that got totally.
I mean, I would argue they're not even a real thing until they've thrown a football. Wouldn't you agree, Mark?
I almost
Oh, Jesus
almost completely
Christ.
agree. Almost completely agree. I hate you so much, Josh. So the way we'll do it is we're going to speak about each team, 5 to 7-ish minutes per team, probably, maybe less, depending on if we don't have anything. And we're going to kind of rotate, but what we're going to do is we're going to pick. If you go back to one of our earlier issues, we randomly drew who our favorite team was going to be, and then we drew who our rival team was going to be. So for me, my favorite
Very
team was
scientific.
very scientific. There's a spreadsheet and everything. My favorite team is the Orlando Apollos, and my rival are the San Diego Fleet.
Cross country, right?
Cross country. From coast to
Longest
coast.
rivalry of all time.
Possible, even just possible.
No, seriously, I'm not even kidding.
Kyle's favorite team is going to be the San Antonio Commanders, and his rival are the Salt Lake Stallions.
They go commando.
They do go
Yes,
commando.
we do go commando.
Josh's
Josh
favorite
Strap.
team. Josh's favorite team are the Memphis Express. And his rival team are the Birmingham Iron.
Which makes the most sense out of all of this.
It does, because if nothing else, Birmingham looks the closest to any kind of British town, so it's going to be perfect when he keeps saying Birmingham and probably pissing off those Iron fans, which I'm cool with.
I hope they listen, and I hope they're annoyed.
I guarantee you we'll get at least 3 more listeners when I post this back up in the subreddit with the answer to 3 questions. And then Nasta, this was actually his first episode, I think, wasn't it?
It was.
It was. So his favorite team was
Oh, let me get that for you.
the Arizona Hotshots. It was the
Arizona Hotshots.
Arizona Hotshots, and his rival team were the Atlanta Legends.
Yes, the Legends,
which is great
yeah.
because he hates the Falcons too, so it works.
Yes.
So I'm going to do, for instance,
Michael Vick's quarterbacking for the Legends?
No,
We'll see.
we'll get there. In fact, let's start there.
Okay, let's start.
So I'm going to go over
I also think Jermaine Dupri is also
he's the music, the intro music.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they couldn't pull
Ludacris?
Outcast or Ludacris.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
What, the Brat?
the Brat. That hair.
And I
just
think
pictured
they
you
were
with
going to
that
have
hair.
Chris Cross, but actually Cross was the only one available.
That's because Chris is in California, right?
No, I think Chris is
Or
actually
is
6
Cross
foot
in
under.
California?
Yes.
Is he?
I think
Which one's on the ticket?
That's Kid and Play. That's
I don't care.
Kid from Kid and Play.
Kid and Play. Kid and Play, Chris Cross. So I'm going to preview, or I'm not going to. We're going to preview the Arizona Hotshots, and then we'll go right into the Legends. I've got everybody's teams basics, right? Head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. So the Hotshots are head coached by Rick Neuheisel, which is awful. The offensive coordinator is probably going to be Rick Neuheisel. They didn't have one named. It may be Chris Scelfa, who's like the only guy who had any kind of offensive experience. And I think it was at like a high school. And then defensive coordinator
They will
is
establish the fullback.
they're going to run the wing bone.
They're gonna use the quick kick.
And then defensive coordinator, they had Nick Aliotti, who's a former Oregon defensive coordinator for about 13 years, I think. So, Josh, I think you had a point about the Hotshots in general that you had talked to me about.
Yes. So I've been doing my research on the Memphis Express, as any proper fan should. Nasta. And I just wanted to point out that throughout my research, we've actually, it's pretty clear that 2 teams in particular are struggling to ship tickets. They are struggling to get their stadiums even respectably sold out. Obviously, like Memphis are at the Liberty Bowl, they're not expecting to sell out 60,000 seats in the first game, whatever. Like, I'm guessing that's obviously the long-term goal, but I'm sure they all have a number they want to hit in their own heads
To be
and
profitable, probably, if nothing else.
even if it's a profit margin, like balance the books level of tickets, and the Hotshots are not doing it at all.
Where are
They're
they
really
playing?
struggling. Not sure. Good question. I'm not
Phoenix.
sure.
Oh, where they're playing
Yeah,
the
the
Hotshots? Oh,
They aren't. They
maybe
aren't
where
shipping
the
tickets
Sun
at
Devils
all.
play, maybe, or
They're playing in Tempe, maybe.
Yeah, they play at the Sun Devil Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, they are really struggling to ship tickets, and so are Atlanta, which is funny because they
Where
roll
they play in
perfectly
Atlanta?
together. But they're the 2 teams that are really struggling.
Probably playing at Georgia State's field. 'Cause
Yeah, they're not playing at
Yeah,
friggin'
Georgia State
the old,
Stadium.
the old converted Braves field.
Yeah,
And the reason I thought it was interesting more than anything
that's
else
not a
is
big. That
because
doesn't hold a lot, right? 40,000 maybe.
when you look at the 2 of the 8 that are struggling, they're the 2 cities with an NFL team established. They're the only 2. Well, I suppose not cities because Arizona are in a city, but
Right.
they're the only 2 areas where there's a very much an NFL
I
team
mean,
already established.
Arizona State as a football team has a tough time holding it because Arizona State's also like
Where,
I blame Jet.
where does the Arizona Wildcats play? Isn't it Scottsdale? Where's the Wildcats college play?
Arizona.
I think it's not Scottsdale. I think it's
Tucson.
Tucson.
So how far is
Tucson.
Tucson and Tempe? Are
A
they
few
far
hours. We
apart?
really need Jack right now, don't we?
Uh,
I think they're a few hours.
Nah, Jack's in the weight room.
the one thing I will
Jack
say
Daniels?
is, I think we can all agree that we want them to sell as many tickets as possible because that guarantees the success of the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks that wherever they've picked is struggling because from all accounts it looks like the other 6 are doing incredibly well. Like probably above their entire estimations.
Surprising with
6
San
months ago.
Antonio playing in the Alamo
Yeah.
Dome.
Well, I think I figured out mostly in some of my research why the Hotshots might be struggling to actually fill that stadium. So Here's the thing about the Hot Shots roster in general. The defense is the only defense probably in the league that on paper looks good. Like they've got players out the wazoo. They have Scooby Wright, former linebacker at Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Terrence Bullitt from Texas Tech. Sione Tahoma, former LSU. He got in problems and went to Southeastern Louisiana. They have Sterling Moore from SMU as a cornerback. Raheem Moore from the UCLA also played for the Broncos. And Dexter McDougal from the Jets.
Too.
Oh,
Yeah, Sterling Moore only made it for a year, I think, or
McDougal?
two, right?
That's funny.
Maybe.
So, yeah, and then Dexter McDougal. So they have a lot of NFL and high-level college players.
Scooby Wright was real.
Scooby Wright was
good.
insane. And I can't remember him ever getting in the NFL. I wonder if he just got hurt. But defense doesn't sell tickets, right? Their quarterback's probably going to be John Wolford from Wake Forest. Their running back's probably going to be John Crockett from North Dakota State.
Is he related to
No.
Sonny Crockett?
He's not. Davey, though.
Okay.
And both of those, besides being and having no relation to Arizona at all, I think is probably one of the issues.
Neuheisel's stupid.
It also helps that Rick Neuheisel's a bad coach.
I'm
One of
looking at
the
his stupid face right now.
so with those
Where did he coach Neuheisel again?
most
Washington?
recently
That's
UCLA too, right?
yeah.
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 Shit.
He was bad.
Horrible.
Some of the weaknesses, pardon me, some of the weaknesses they have, it is Neuheisel. He's an inspiration guy and an awful X's and O's guy. At this level, that might be okay, but with all the different rule changes that we'll talk about a little bit later, I think it's going to hurt him. And the fact that their only good receiver or only notable receiver is Josh Huff from the Eagles, who was a product of the system that Chip Kelly ran because he was with Chip Kelly in Oregon too. Really nice of my computer to chime in.
It has a point.
And so I honestly think it does have a really good point. I think Arizona, because he's an inspiration coach and because they're going to have empty stands, they're going to be not doing well. Moving on to the Atlanta Legends. We're going to end up doing alphabetical, by the way I did this. Oops. No. We'll change. Oh, yeah, because Birmingham, Memphis. Fuck, how did that figure out?
Doesn't matter.
So, the Legends. I'm going to start with the question because it's probably the biggest thing that's going to impact them. User Football Movie Fry Cook, which is a great username, asked, how will the preseason loss of Brad Childress affect the Legends? Because he got hired away.
Right.
Well, I'm here to tell you that it's going to affect them greatly. And here's why. The entire East is a defensive division minus the Apollos. And Brad Childress would have been the only other offensive headed coach in the East. And Brad Childress can call plays. Like he's not a bad coach. He really isn't, especially at this level. Without his play calling, and for a better reference, he was the spread game coordinator for the Chiefs in the last few years with Andy Reid, and helped Alex Smith get it acclimated, and then Mahomes just for a touch too.
Was he the head coach in Minnesota before their most recent run?
Yeah, yes.
And they went to the playoffs with, like, Teddy Bridgewater was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that was the Favre year, I think, too, that they had.
Yeah, they have, with Favre, yeah.
And he tried to make it work with Webb, whatever that guy's name was.
Joe Webb.
Joe Webb, and he struggled. But the offensive play calling is going to fall to Michael Vick now, who couldn't keep a job with Andy Reid as an intern, learning how to call plays, and I just have no idea what he's going to do. So I think what's going to end up happening is they replaced him with a heavy defensive guy. Their offense is going to probably be one of the worst in the league.
First thing that Michael Vick is going to do is require all the quarterbacks to become left-handed.
That's true, and that's going to be really difficult for Aaron Murray. They're just going to all play Madden 05, and he's like, "Look what I can do," and he just like runs in circles around everybody. So that offense has Aaron Murray. It has James Quick from Louisville. It has Malachi Jones from App State at receiver. The running backs, meh.
I'm going to try to dig up Michael Turner.
They have Irvin Phillips from the Syracuse Orange as a receiver.
Irv. He's really good.
So they're going to have some weapons to pass to. I'm not sure Aaron Murray can do it because he's a very checked down quarterback.
Irv Phillips will be perfect for him though.
Well, hopefully Irv Phillips can make it work.
Because
and James Quick.
Syracuse used him out of the slot a lot because he's very quick, and he had a lot of yak, man.
Yeah.
He had a ton of yards senior year, and he if you can hit him in the flats or just like a little 3-yard drag route,
Right.
he can make some stuff happen.
Their linebackers probably have them potentially be the best unit on the field, and that's only if their guys come up, if they fulfill their potential that they fulfilled in college, which was Tyreek McCord from Miami and Roderick Hoskins from Florida State. But they never made it really in the NFL at all, and that might have been because of depth. I think Tyreek went to like the Steelers, and everybody can work with the Steelers, so I don't know why he didn't. But their defensive backs are going to struggle. Everybody's defensive line. I'm just going to start this now. Everybody's team defensive line is fucking awful. Everybody's is really, really, really awful. Except maybe one team, and I can't remember. I got to check my notes. Their biggest weakness is I think the team's cursed. Going back to the Brad Childers thing, because one of their first signings was Justin Crawford, who's a running back out of West Virginia, and he's a lot of fun to watch. He got released because he got arrested for incest, sodomy, and enticing a child for indecent purposes.
So he's from West Virginia.
He's from West Virginia, but I think he's an Atlanta guy. At least was one of the first players to be signed by the Legends, and they missed.
That'll do it.
So I think they're cursed. So look to next year, Atlanta.
Have fun.
They are the universal
Listen, when you
championship.
blow, how many point lead was that in the Super Bowl?
What's that?
How many point lead was that in the Super Bowl?
25 points.
When you blow a 25-point lead with 15 minutes left in the Super Bowl, and you have Matt Ryan as your quarterback and a solid offensive with Julio Jones, and you must have walked under a ladder a couple times or broke some mirrors.
You know what?
Because you got shit luck.
You know what? I didn't tip Nass off to this, but he's making an incredible segue for me because we're going to go over the Birmingham Iron and then we're going to touch the Memphis Express. So, the Birmingham Iron.
Boring them.
Boring. You know what? And honestly, you're probably not far off with what they're going to look like on the field.
Hand the ball to Trent Richardson 40 times a game.
There was also 2 user questions.
32 yards.
There was two user questions for this, both from user Beef Cheadle.
That's wonderful.
More like Boof Cheadle. Not his first, but one of his questions was, will Luis Perez be able to perform like he did in Division II against what should be tougher opponents? So he's a backup quarterback, Luis Perez. He won the Division II National Championship with Texas A&M Commerce. He probably won't see the field, which is probably the good news. And he's the most, out of everything I've seen, and his coach, Colby Carthel, who was his old coach in college, entirely the most system passing quarterback. He threw for 4,999 yards. Couldn't get that last one. Couldn't get that last one. And I feel like in the AAF, he's going to be a yard short as well. The other question he had was about Tim Lewis as a first-time head coach. So Tim Lewis is their head coach who's been a journeyman. He was a journeyman defensive coordinator. He was defensive back coach in a lot of the NFL as well. He's going to be defined by 2 things. A, which Tim Lewis is showing up. He was the Steelers defensive coordinator from 2000 to 2003, and he was great. They had like a top 5 defense every year except for one, and it was still a top half defense. He was also the defensive backs coach for a few teams more recently that finished like 30th in yards per catch, 31st in like yards per attempt. Like on every metric, his defensive backs were awful. So so it's going to be really tough. The other part is going to be the guy that's going to actually call plays for him, who's Steve Logan. Do you recognize the name Steve Logan at all?
Sounds familiar.
It's familiar because he's kind of a journeyman too, but he was the ECU coach from like 92 to 2002. And when they were bad, but he still took them to 5 balls out of 10 years.
Yeah, he beat the shit out of Syracuse a couple times in there too.
The reason this is a segue, his biggest claim to fame was being the offensive coordinator for the 2007 Boston College Eagles, led by Matt Ryan.
Kuechly was not on that team, was it?
What year?
Maybe.
I'm sorry, what year?
2007. He might have been.
No, Luke Kuechly's too young to be on the college 2007.
So-
Doug Flutie, I think, was on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So which Steve Logan are we going to get? Because in 07, Matt Ryan and Andre Callender were incredible. But it was Matt Ryan and Andre Callender. He also is responsible for being the quarterbacks coach for the 49ers when old Tom Sula was leading the charge. And he's the only guy that couldn't get production out of Colin Kaepernick. Not to make this a Colin Kaepernick.
Nope.
Who cares about that clown?
So which guy you're going to get, especially with whoever their quarterback's going to be. I didn't even write it down because it wouldn't. Oh, Blake Sims.
Ooh.
I don't know how Blake Sims is going to be. And Blake Sims,
Yeah.
the best potential they have is Blake Sims gets hurt, that Luis Perez guy comes in, and hope to God that Steve Logan's running a passing game like he did with Matt Ryan and just chucking it downfield. They've also got running
Any kind
backs.
of Alabama quarterback that's not named Tua, I get scared about.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
Because it's just, because they were always, their MO was to be ball control offenses. And that might work in this league because they've also got Trent Richardson, Ladarius Perkins. They've got a good running core. And their offensive line is real good. Like, I think really, really, really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to be a grinded out football team, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just loaded with Auburn and Alabama talent, which at worst is good.
Well, what's that Mississippi? The D2 school.
Golf, the one from Netflix.
Yeah, the really good kid, the really good school.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm saying, I bet you're gonna get some of that talent too.
They have one guy from that school, actually.
Yeah, they got some good. They got
Last
good
chance
squad.
you.
Yeah, last chance.
Weaknesses, they have Quinn Bray at receiver and then no one else. They've got a guy named Devosia Felton, who I've never heard of, who played for Tuskegee and is 5'6" and 150 pounds. Kyle, how tall are you?
I'm 5'5",
And how much do you weigh?
150.
So it's Kyle
It's me.
playing receiver. But the dude looks on film, on his highlight reel, which is propaganda, as I think you put it in your last podcast. He looks like he's a very Tyreek Hill type.
Now, here's the
player.
real question. Does he have my 5-inch vertical?
You're not a comb over, everybody's realizing, because you have been left. No, I don't know what he looks like, honestly. They didn't have a picture of him on.
I mean, I've got
Tuskegee.
serious non-ups.
Oh shit, bro! I saw your ups.
Josh, I know you hate Birmingham, but I thought it was weird when they had a guy that never went to college on their team.
Oh, really?
And it turns out that Lawrence Okoye comes from Croydon, England.
Isn't it? Croydon, Palace, home of Palace. So
Is
it just
it
makes
really?
it even better.
Oh, God, it'd be easier to
boy.
hate. Oh, I didn't even realize.
Easier.
Oh, that's your favorite team?
Wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, no. He hates Palace.
No. Wasn't he ex-Olympian?
Maybe, yeah, because he did track and
Did
field.
discus?
Yep.
I think he was the discus
Oh,
Olympian.
that's a skill for football.
Who did he come over to? Was he at the Niners first?
He had 5 teams that he was on the practice squad with.
Yeah,
it was
I know
like
he
the
signed with
Niners,
a bunch of
Jets.
them, yeah.
I think Cowboys even touched him for a second.
Cowboys touch a lot.
But he's got really good size. That's it. I mean, he's one of the bigger.
What is he going to be, the field goal kicker?
No, he's going to be the defensive. He's a defensive lineman. I guess I should have led off with that. Huh? The discus player at the field goal kicker.
He's an Olympian.
His swim move better be great.
he's,
Yeah, no doubt.
He has to be somewhat athletic if he was.
he's an Olympian that
Yeah.
won medals.
So by purely way of being an athlete, he might stand a
He's
chance
got
to
the
be
athlete
something.
at this level. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's got the athlete.
But will anybody understand what he's saying, being from Croydon? How do Croydon people sound?
They're very Cockney.
Cockney. That's oh boy. 6'6" Cockney dude. Moving on to the Memphis Express.
Sounds like a trash team.
It is a trash
human
team.
being.
Well, it's funny that because you're wrong.
So you're going to speak to mostly the Memphis stuff, but there was one question I didn't prepare you for because I honestly forgot to bold it on my notes here.
Hit me.
Someone just asked. They're worried about the Memphis Express's offensive line and run game.
Okay.
That was all it was. It wasn't even really a question. It was just a concern of theirs.
Who wrote this?
Well, I can hit that.
Oh, I'm sorry. User SH513. Please get
Sounds
a
like
better.
a robot.
Please get a funnier
NPC.
name. Bot.
Now, is this person
Typical Russian
listen to
shield.
our podcast? Who?
We'll see if I'm going to post it. Maybe SH513. We'll see. SH513. DM me on Twitter. You'll
Slide
see the
his
post.
DMs.
Yeah,
Slide
slide
my
in his
DMs.
DMs. You'll love it to be slidden.
No nudes.
What there means by no nudes is all the nudes.
So the Express's head coach,
All the
before
nudes.
Kyle or Josh gets started, head coach Mike Singletary. Offensive coordinator, probably a combination of David Lee and Stephen Marshall. And their defensive coordinator, probably Mike Singletary, also Dennis Thurman. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Well, I've not done it the same way you've done all of yours, but
That's
I've
okay.
got a bunch of stuff. So I've done a little bit on their president, a little bit on their coach, a little bit on some just little facts about them, and then
Little factoids.
Little factoids. And then I'm doing a couple
Population of Memphis.
couple of the notable players that they've got going on that even I recognise. And then yeah,
This
that's
was
it.
home of the Blues and Jerry the
So-
King Lawler.
Memphis Express. President Kosher Irby. Listened to a podcast with him being interviewed on it this
Kosher.
week as I was driving home. He is very much into the entertainment side of things. They have a silent disco going on in the first game at the Liberty Bowl to try and attract.
As you will.
A
Yes,
silent disco?
yes, to try and attract that.
They have a bunch of mimes doing disco?
You never heard of silent disco?
Never heard of silent disco.
Put on
get
headphones
headphones.
and you listen to all the same
You
songs.
normally have, but the
dance.
thing is, you normally have 2 to 3 channels, and you'll have 2 to 3 DJs all playing different music, and you'll all have it like super loud on your headphones. But if to anybody walking in, it's just dead silent and everyone's jamming out.
This sounds like the president didn't have enough swing to get a permit for a lot of it.
he doesn't want to get arrested for sound violations.
Silent disco's very cool, but anyway, don't know how it's going to work in a football game. He has really
It takes away
reiterated.
from what's going on the field.
But he's
Are the players
reiterated,
also going to be listening?
He has
That would be
reiterated
something.
time and time again
That
that
be mimicking football.
there are people who come to watch the football, there are people who come to just be at the football, and then there are people who come for neither. They just come for an event.
Something unstable.
Especially
about
with that
if
kind
it
of
is
price
be
point.
at the football.
So like you have you go from 3 boys going out and watching this, like three of us going out and watching it, to our wives wanting to go because they're wanting a night out and they decide this is a great way to start it by getting hammered at the Express game before going out.
And it's something a lot of people will use
It's a
it
pregame.
to
Yes,
entertain.
literally.
Minor
For
league,
$15 to get in, why not?
yeah, minor league baseball is full of a bunch of people that don't want to babysit their kids, and their kids are kind of.
The cricket at home is exactly the same thing. I think he's smart in what he's trying to do. It's just whether it works or not. It's going to be pure boom or bust. It's going to be a really good thing or an absolute shit show. But my other favourite fact about him, and this is relevant to 2 of you for sure, he's coming from the WWE.
Oh, really?
He worked for the WWE.
He worked for the WWE for 9 years.
He's gonna hit somebody with a chair?
9 years. He was a manager and on the production side all the way through. He was asked to start their office out west. Like, start their office from scratch out west.
The WWE office.
For the WWE, yeah. And I've also read some really cool conspiracy theories about him.
Being an insider for the XFL.
Yes.
But that
What?
is juicy. As
2 or 3, they've given all these people 3-year contracts. Mergers happen. 3 years' time, if both leagues are doing well, they have someone who literally speaks
Broker a
to
deal.
He speaks to Vince every week still. He confirms that he speaks to Vince on the reg. There is no reason
how did you
why.
get this team?
This
It's
is-
destined.
This is gonna be the invasion angle.
Perry Saturn's going to finally get another gig. He's going to come out with a broom or a mop.
And he also has great banter. He is the one who coined boring a mine. He also has responded to me on
Love it.
Twitter, also shit talking the Birmingham Mine, which was great. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting. He played football in Memphis. He had a college football career, I guess, before he got into whatever he was doing. He looks relatively young. I don't know how old he
He
is.
played
but
for
he
the
looks
Memphis Tigers, and I'm sure.
And then Mike Singletary is obviously someone that you lot will know a lot more about. Bears legend.
Bears player. They should,
Yeah,
that should make him
10-time
happy.
Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner. And he has a really pretty big CV to come into the league with, in my opinion. He's worked at San Fran, Minnesota, and the Rams.
head coach for
Anybody
the
that's
first
been a head coach in the
season.
NFL within the last 15 years, I think, is a gift for the league.
He hasn't been a head coach, though. He's been defensive coaches or this coach
I
or
thought
that
he was the
coach.
head
I
coach.
thought he was the head coach of the Bears.
I thought he was the head coach of San Francisco.
If he has,
He
then
was.
Wiki, I didn't look clearly enough, clearly.
That's all right. Yeah, I think he was the 49ers head coach.
Yeah, he was. He was there for a year.
Facts are facts, Josh.
Hashtag facts are facts. So yeah, he's had a lot of experience, and there's a big thing about this league, and a lot of people have said that a lot of the players are going to use this as a platform to move up, like put themselves in the shop window for NFL teams. And I think that of all the head coaches, he is one of those ones that I think is definitely looking ahead and hoping he can get his face around the place. Because he's got a CV that's better than pretty much any other head coach with his playing career. And his, you know what I mean? And I think he's unless his team absolutely flop, he's got a good shot at getting some kind of lower league NFL team interested in looking at him if the Express do
I feel
well.
like Mike Singletary also had a pretty good interview that got kind of viral as far as when he was coaching the 49ers, like a blow up, if I remember correctly.
That's even better.
You can't do it.
To pullback Kosha Irby played for Memphis for 1 year, and his stats go 10 games, 1 interception, Finn.
What did he do?
No wonder he was in the
Where did he
entertainment.
play?
He was a defensive back, Memphis Tigers.
So,
in the 97, which means that dude's pretty old.
Fun fact is, he looks great.
He's Nash's age.
I was going to say something then. I'm not
Is he as good?
Black don't cry.
Yeah, you said it.
Is he as good
Fun facts. Memphis did the first ever trade. They were part of the first ever trade in AAF football.
Did not know that.
Yes, there's only been one trade ever done. And it was and it's weird because there's no
Pulling the
cap.
trigger before somebody even plays.
There's no cap. There's nothing. So like I'm not sure what the reasoning was.
Well, the league
because
owns all teams, so I wonder if that's why.
So what happened was it was I didn't have the names, and I googled this for ages, and I cannot find these pissing names, and I wasn't willing to go through the Twitter feed. But the San Diego Fleet sent their tight end over for an express running back, and that was the trade that was made. And it's interesting because the Express only had one tight end on the roster at the time, so clearly there was a position of need. I just don't know why they traded it instead of it's whatever. They don't have an official rival yet, but thankfully it does look like it's going to be Birmingham, which great because
Makes sense.
literally pulled them out
So
of the
the
hat.
Fleet traded for a tight end.
No, they traded away a tight end.
Really?
Yeah, because the
running back.
Express only had one. And their running backs, which is funny because when you talk about their running backs, they have a half-decent running back group. Like Zach Stacy is the name that obviously stands out for better or
Zach
worse.
Stacy.
When I first came into following the sport, like he was half-decent at the Rams.
Yeah.
Well, and their other two guys, Terrence McGee and Kenny Hilliard, were both
Oh, hell yeah.
good.
Right.
They were on
I've heard
kind
that
of
they're
weak
very
LSU
decent.
teams, but they're very good.
But they also, in their scrimmage that they had, put up the worst running back numbers in the entire league. So the guy worried about that has a great point. And they also, and this is going to be the weaknesses part that you were talking about, you gave strengths and weaknesses. The weakness definitely is the running game on both sides because they gave up the most running yards.
Yeah, so the
yards.
Stallions, right? That's where the scrimmage was?
They absolutely
4 yards per carry they gave.
Who was the
Those are
runner?
horses. I mean, they can run.
It's a stable of
know
running
whether-
backs.
Who was
Yes.
the running back that had the elevator incident on Baltimore?
Ray
Ray
Rice.
Rice.
Right.
Is he going to be in this league?
No, I think he's done for it.
I think he's I think he's pretty old at this point.
So they're the
Running back
weaknesses. They're the weakness is the running game for sure. Like both ways. It's whether they have the talent to do it, but I think the strength personally is the quarterback group. They probably have the most experienced NFL quarterbacks, whether they're good or not. They've had the most game time.
Experience,
It's interesting.
Experience matters.
It's interesting you say that only because the only note I have under weaknesses from Memphis, because I made little notes, was one point of weakness was their quarterbacks. But that's only because they're both potential guys. Like Christian Hackenberg
Right. So they've
was
got
always kind of a
Hackenberg.
potential guy. And
Never
even when
really
he's...
got a chance.
Well,
Wait, was he
not in the NFL.
Was he a quarterback?
Yeah, Christian
Yeah,
Hackenberg.
yeah.
So he played for Penn State,
State.
but it was in
Yeah.
a really weird Penn State. It was a post.
And he got drafted by the Jets.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. He was the Jets guy.
What happened to him? I thought he was still on the Jets. Did I miss him?
Yeah, he
The
got
Jets
cut.
guy. They went through like 10 quarterbacks in 2 years.
Yo, he's gonna be a good. Yo, that
Really
kid.
did.
He's gonna be a good quarterback.
So they had Hackenberg and they've got
Watch.
Mettenberger too.
Mhm.
Now,
Man, a lot of friggin'.
whether they're going to be any
Yo,
good or not
Hackenberg's gonna be good. Watch.
is obviously up for debate,
he's
but the
fast.
only reason I had them as a strength is because they have more NFL experience than almost any other quarterback group in the league.
Yeah.
So, like, do you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
purely from time in the NFL.
That's exactly it. Like they're used to the elite level, whether they're cut out for it or not. Clearly, they weren't because
I'm
they're
sorry,
here.
I'm not a
but-
Mettenberger fan.
Mettenberger's not good, but Christian Hackenberg absolutely can be good.
Yo, he's
Well,
gonna be good
Hackenberg
watch.
seems to have won the starting spot.
Yeah, I don't
Good.
know.
Mettenberger was starting out as the guy with the starting spot, and probably that's due to veteran experience because he
Yeah.
had more of it.
And
But
location a little
Hackenberg has beaten him out, so he looks like he's going to start. And most interestingly, again, is we have a candidate for biggest bust of the season before a ball is even thrown. Quarterback Troy Cook, who I've never heard of ever, was the 3rd overall draft pick, and he was cut on the first round of cuts.
Jesus.
What the fuck is a Troy Cook?
Never heard of him. No
Where'd he
idea
go to
who
school?
he is.
Tennessee Martin.
Oh.
God, he played at Tennessee Martin. That's probably why he's such a high pick because that plays in Tennessee.
Gotcha.
Like that's because they did a couple different drafts, which I think I talked to you earlier today about, where like they had a CFL, the NFL teams, and then it was a regional draft, and the quarterback draft was like kind of a mess. It's kind of a weird thing. They
Yeah,
did.
it was a weird protect and keep.
Yeah,
and
it was
stuff.
super weird. And Troy Cook, based off like anything I'm seeing here, was not even that great in college. Like, it's
Yeah, it's a weird one. He was cut. He's crap, clearly.
you know what? I bet it's because he transferred from another big school because he's a Miami kid, and to end up at Tennessee Martin is weird.
The most fun for me is we don't have a kicker right now. We have
Don't need one.
we have a lad
Bears
called,
didn't have one either.
we have a lad called Wing.
Yo,
he's
you
an
know about
Aussie.
that.
He's a punter. Whether he ends up kicking two to start the season, I don't know. But I'm wondering if they're just holding out for Cody Parkey and hoping that we cut that piece of shit.
God, how
I
sad
would
that
love
be.
it if he was
I
there
would
for you.
cry so hard.
Maybe they're gonna send him down there
Would-
to train and
would
then
you
send
put
him
on
back
YouTube-
to the Bears.
Put on Twitter you burning the jersey of Cody Parkey.
Yeah, I'd buy one.
But the Express
just to
ones-
burn it. I'd drive down to Memphis to do it at the home stadium too. But yeah, they have no kicker right now. They're the only team in the league that haven't declared a 52-team man roster. They're the only ones with a 51 because we haven't even bothered signing a kicker yet.
Well,
Pure
there's-
fantasy draft
Well,
strategy.
there's and
So WWE.
It is
really.
it is.
So are we done with the
And
Express?
that's it. I'm done.
Okay, cool.
I have some other stuff I want to bring up at the end,
Okay, cool. So I want
which is
to.
all AAF.
So the
but I wanna
Stallions,
bring
I
it up.
have very little on. So we'll just browse over the Stallions for a second and get into the Commanders, because. And not because they're my rivals and they're my favorite team. The Apollos I don't even have that much on really, but the Fleet are intriguing to me. So Salt Lake Stallions head coach is Dennis Erickson, offensive coordinator Tim Lopano, defensive coordinator Donnie Henderson. So Dennis Erickson is he's like a poor man's. I feel like he's a poor man's Bill Walsh, where he makes good out of bad, but in general, he's an above average coach in college and in the pros. The problem with the Stallions, as what I think is going to be in a lot of these cases, is their defense is really, really bad in a division, the West, that is entirely pretty much offensive teams. Their best defensive back is Henry Tolliver from Arkansas, who is not good, like flat out. Not bad team, unfortunate situation. He's just not good. He's a ball hawk at best, and he's really not even that. Their quarterback is probably going to be Josh Woodrum, who's from Liberty. It's going to be their best side. They have Austin Allen as a backup, who you may remember from Arkansas days.
Yeah.
And he's going to be consistent. Their biggest benefit is on offense, and this was going to kind of what Josh was saying about the Express giving up a lot of yards. Their main running back is going to be C.J. Smith, I think, out of Northern Illinois, who is the most grinded out, like steady running back. I think C.J. Smith is probably going to end up leading the league in rushing, which would be a lot of fun.
Okay.
I'm going to skip over Salt Lake and go to San Antonio, which is Kyle's team.
Mm-hmm.
The San
You got anything
Antonio
for us, Kyle?
Commanders. Head coach Mike Riley. Offensive coordinator Matt Troxel. Defensive coordinator Jim Grove.
Jim Grove.
Kyle, do you want to take some notes and I could make some?
What?
I'm going to beep all that out. 'Cause if you want to make some
What'd
points
you call me?
and I'll chime in here and there.
So first of all, I'm in love with the fact that their GM is Daryl Johnston. So he
Wait,
was
the Moose?
Yep.
Yeah, the Moose is there. Yeah, he
Nice.
He's also
Man, I got a real
Syracuse
shit team, man. Shit.
Yeah,
I know what excited.
So he was a former Syracuse player, fullback in the '80s. Love him to death. He will establish the fullback. I'm So looking at their roster, as far as quarterbacks, I think they're settling on Logan Woodside as their number one quarterback.
Yes, they should.
They should. I'm a little intrigued by Marquise Williams because yeah,
Where did he go?
UNC.
UNC.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh shit! Yeah. Okay.
He was
a
right at
wide
the beginning
receiver,
of. He was
right?
right at the beginning. He was a quarterback, but he was right at the
quarterback.
beginning of Fedora's reign.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he showed flashes of poor play and flashes of greatness too.
You could almost use him as like a Taysom Hill kind of player for the Saints. You know, kind of bring him in as almost like a change of pace quarterback. I think that could be kind of fun. Running back wise, I think it's going to be a combo of Aaron Green and David Cobb. But what I'm really intrigued by is
Why have I added that Cobb one? Has he got
Randall
something
Cobb
else?
from the Packers, you might be.
That could be it.
Corn on the cob.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Cobbing for
That's
apples.
it.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
Corn on the cob.
Cobblestone.
Cobb.
That's what's all over England.
corn cob.
True.
Do you know what? Do you know what? where
Or
cobblestone is?
apple cobbler.
If you ever go to Belgium, get a fucking taxi because I made the mistake of not doing that. I got into Belgium, got the training, wheeled this suitcase. I said, "Don't worry about it, Brick. We'll do it." Wheeled this suitcase down this cobblestone street, and I thought it was only one.
And it's
I
just
turned into the city centre, and it was just cobblestones everywhere. So anybody who wants to
Little
go
mini
to Belgium
speed
in the
bumps on your
future,
suitcase.
please get a taxi.
I
It's
flew
not
to
worth your thighs.
Sorry, I'm just not as big of a jet setter as you over here.
This guy used to fly in the Concorde.
You've driven from...
he's got Eurovision.
Yo, he's also good with the Euro step.
Oh yeah, oh
Basketball.
He might
that
be,
what it's called?
He might be a
Eurostep?
Mavericks fan
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, Euro step. Yo, he's gonna be a Mavericks fan for sure. After that lineup, I might be a Mavericks fan.
They're all they're gonna
Go
be
on.
fun.
Told you, fickle.
He's just falling for Porzingis everywhere. But what I'm most intrigued by is the fact that they have Greg Ward as one of their receivers. Now he was a quarterback at University of Houston, and it was real fun to watch.
Is that a good
he was
coach?
electric. Houston is so there's
Kingsbury
there's
was.
the Power Five
Kingsbury.
group of five. They are very top of the group of five, and they probably should be in the Power Five, but no one will invite them to their conference
The
yet.
Houston Cougars.
Because they're also afraid of losing.
Because if you know why? Because if they move into the Power Five, that whole talent pool of high school players in Texas
They're
will
gonna-
be going to that friggin' school.
Well, A&M would hate it.
Yeah, like they'll be
A&M
pulling. I'm sorry, they'll be
would
pulling from your Texas Longhorns, A&M, TCU,
LSU,
your
TCU.
favorite team.
TCU.
Yeah, you like the Horned Frogs.
I do.
As far as offensive line for the Commanders, I'm intrigued by Cyril Richardson. He's a big dude.
He's a big fella,
He's a
man.
big fucking dude, and I think he'll anchor on the left side.
His conditioning, I believe, was the only problem he ever had before. Which how much faster this game's going to be than the NFL. It's going to be interesting how he adapts.
Yeah. Defensively, I know I had made this point earlier. They have a lot of DBs from the Big 12. Big 12 is traditionally not a great defensive conference. There's a lot of points to get put up, but that's also a product of having really spread out, high flying offenses.
9 out of 10 offenses are top 50. And
Yeah. So I'm very curious to see how they all mesh together on defense, but I'm intrigued by that offense. I
no,
think
it's
gonna
fun.
be
So for anybody who doesn't know Logan Woodside's story, so he played at Toledo. When Baker Mayfield won the Heisman, on just about every statistical point, Logan Woodside was not even a half step behind. He was on his heels the entire time. He played at Toledo. That was the difference.
That's it. Yep.
If he had those numbers at USC, then you're talking about like one of the closest Heisman races of all time. Also, building on his point on the offense, Greg Ward's probably going to be electric. Josh Stewart from Oklahoma State's really, really good, and Speedy Noel from A&M is going to be a lot of fun with that entire offense. So they're probably going to be. I'm going to suggest that they're going to be the best offense in the league.
Do you think within a year
Despite
or two,
Mike Riley.
if this league kicks off a little bit, let's say this league gets like a 5 year, 5 years, let's just say, but let's say within like next year or year two in this league, do you think NFL teams might start pulling?
Absolutely.
They already are.
That's built into their contracts for protection for it. I guarantee you by next
I don't know why I
season.
have not heard about this league until I started joining this podcast.
Honestly, if I had not,
If I have not been in this, I would not heard of this league until maybe the day of the friggin' first
Yeah.
game. Like, yo, there's a friggin' league.
Well, they also announced the NFL Network was going to be.
Yeah, it was announced today that NFL
Because
Network
XFL, that's all I heard.
Yeah, it's not coming out until next year.
No, I know, but that's what the only thing I've heard.
that's why they jumped on quick.
That's the only reason XFL came out as early as they did, because the AAF is about to steal all the heat.
I think they're going to be good. They got some good. You guys
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
The last point I wanted to make on the Commanders, and if you have something else, please jump in.
No, I'm
but
good, yeah.
I had the same concerns. Jim Grobe's not a good defensive coach, and their players aren't good. Like they have some Big 12 players. Their Big 12 players aren't bad. Their their defensive as a whole is very, very, I think, poor.
Yeah.
And my prediction on here that I had written down was the Commanders have a chance to be the best offense in the league and the worst defense in the league. And that should be fun.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, basically. You're going to be the Chiefs. And honestly, with Logan Woodside's ability, if they have the right type of offense for it, which Matt Troxel, former Oregon State assistant, not super great, but he was an Idaho State offensive coordinator and has a pretty decent
I mean, they're going very strong Oregon State over here. They should have just gotten me based on my NCAA football.
Honestly, you've done great things there. It's amazing you weren't on the list.
I know.
Moving on, we're gonna finish with the San Diego Fleet, my hated team, just because I think they're one of the most interesting ones. So the Orlando Apollos, I'm gonna make it as short as possible. Head coach Steve Spurrier, offensive coordinator Steve Spurrier, maybe his son Scott for a little bit.
Yo, Steve Spurrier is a coach? Yeah, that's a winner right there.
Defensive coordinator
Yeah.
Bob Sanders is our defensive
is
coordinator,
crazy.
which is
He's gonna get hurt.
nuts. He's gonna get hurt on the sidelines. He's gonna make some
Field
plays.
safety for the Colts.
Yeah.
So,
So,
I'm gonna start with weaknesses. I think their offensive line is gonna be the worst part, which is unfortunate because their offense looks to be pretty great minus their offensive line.
I think a lot of teams are set to have really poor offensive lines.
I think
and that's
so,
going
too.
to make it even more fun.
Well, it's really going to depend because
So many people are gonna-
what I've
So
repeated,
many quarterbacks running for their lives.
What I've repeated a couple times though is also defensive lines is like a weakness across the whole league. So it might be a push. It might just be simply like C+ players blocking C+ players, and it's just going to be maybe coaching or luck of the draw.
Yeah.
a lot of screen passes.
Their only two offensive line players of note were Andrew Tiller from Syracuse. And then Trey Jackson from Florida State. But it's a really shallow unit, too, and they don't have a whole lot of guys. I think they have 10 total offensive linemen on the roster. So it might be dire quickly if any of them get hurt. The strengths.
Garrett Gilbert.
So on that, the Spurrier's offensive system, the highlight about Spurrier is that he is kind of this run and gun offensive coach. He failed in the NFL,
Okay.
which you wouldn't know, but he did win an Steve Spurrier.
Oh, yeah.
He was great in college.
Great in college, and a lot of
National championship winner.
Yep.
Right?
What was he?
he was the head coach at the University of Florida.
Okay.
And then
In South
coached the
Carolina.
Reds in South Carolina after the NFL
Gamecocks.
stint.
Yes,
So-
good years there, too.
So a lot of the offensive concepts you'll see in modern day spread, scissors in particular, on the route stuff, Steve Spurrier kind of perfected that model at Florida back when people just weren't doing it at a big time school where he was getting 5-star athletes and would still turn Danny Werfel, who was a very average quarterback, into
Patrick Ramsey.
Yeah,
Did he have Jeff
Patrick Ramsey
Garcia?
played for Tulane.
Jeff Garcia had a good career in South Carolina.
But he didn't play for South Carolina when Spurrier was there, though.
I thought so.
Jeff Garcia was out of the NFL.
No, not Jeff Garcia. What's the other Garcia?
Oh, Steven.
Steven
Steven
Garcia.
Garcia.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. That's what I was
You're
really
right, because
confused.
Jeff Garcia, he's
Alshon Jeffrey was.
Alshon
So-
Jeffrey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
So their quarterbacks,
Two national
Garrett,
championships.
Jadavian Clowney.
Clownster.
Quarterbacks, Garrett Gilbert and Stephen Morris fighting for the role, and Austin Apple being the backup from Purdue. Garrett Gilbert is probably going to be the best pick, which pains me to say it because I thought I'd finally shaken him when he left SMU, and and then of course I draw the team that drafts fucking Garrett Gilbert, and the poor guy is so talented and just like broken. I think is really what it comes down to.
Really injury prone?
No.
Mentally.
No, here's
Oh,
what
okay.
happened. He was a
Mentally
stud
broken.
quarterback that signed for the University of Texas, and as a freshman, they went to the national championship
With Colt McCoy as their
with Colt McCoy as their quarterback. Colt McCoy gets hurt first drive. they just throw Garrett Gilbert to a very good Alabama defense, and he got eaten alive all game.
Yeah.
And he never really fully recovered.
That's
Also, we have with the Apollos, the Freaks, and
Just like
Large
David Carr.
Athletes, a.k.a. FLA. It's a nickname they gave themselves. I didn't give them that, unfortunately. They have Drell Worthy from Michigan State, Azim Victor from Washington, Terrence Garvin from West Virginia. They're linebackers, and even they're speaking of themselves very highly with their defensive line. Based on the scrimmage and the stuff that I saw, their defensive line is very, very good compared to the rest of the league, which is good because their defensive backs are not. So they're really going to be the game changer. And I think that mostly the benefit Sturgier's going to have with one other coach, which we're about to talk about, is going to be the tempo of the league in general, which we'll cover right at the very end because they're just going to have quick notes because it's an hour and 5 minutes in. Finally, the San Diego Fleet. You have a Super Bowl winning coach in Mike Martz as the head coach. Offensive coordinator Mike DeBoer. Just kidding, it's Mike Martz. Defensive coordinator Larry Marmie, who's whatever. On this Fleet offense, Bishop Sankey from Washington, Berkovici from Arizona State.
Bishop Sankey is hurt though.
Is he really?
Yes, he is. He is on the. He did not make their 52-man roster. He was put on IR.
Shut up! I didn't know that. Well,
so that will be a bit of a shitter for them.
It's a bummer. So, you know what's funny though?
San Diego Fleet, more like
there's-
San Diego Fleas.
More like well,
San Diego
that's-
Heat.
No, don't be that.
San
much.
Diego Sheet.
Like the gas station?
No, like the shit mispronounced. Good thing because Mike Martz is the passing guy. So Berkovici's going to have Francis Owasu, Brian Brown, former Dallas Cowboy Gavin Escobar to throw to. And I think their offense is going to be really, really good. Larry Marmie, their defensive coordinator, hasn't proved that he can coach a defense in over a decade. The last time he was calling plays was the 2004 Rams, which were absolutely destroyed week in, week out. And Adam Archuleta is not walking through that door. And they have two players on defense. It's worth mentioning. Demetrius Wright played at USC, had a really good career. Travis Feeney from Washington, a linebacker. He's also really good. Their personnel looks like they're going to run a 3-4, but Marmie has no experience with the 3-4. So it's going to be really interesting how they figure it out. I truly think, and then that being the summary for the Fleet, what we're in for is literally the East being the defensive league, minus the Apollos, and the West being the offensive league, probably minus the Hot Shots. So it's going to be kind of a weird race, especially when you get to who's going to get to the championship, who's going to get to the playoffs, which we'll do another episode on. The last points that we can finish this podcast with. So I put two things as the biggest question marks about the league as a whole. One I'm going to answer.
Well, I've got some stuff too.
Good. When will the app
just to have conversation?
When will the app be released? It's February 2nd or 4th for those listening. It should be out pretty soon. They're probably going to put it. They're probably going to. There's probably going to be a commercial at the Super Bowl of the app, and that's when it's going to launch.
Well, that's one of mine too. What do you reckon is going to be in the app?
So,
just out of it, just because there's been a lot of talk about it, and some people are acting like it's fucking saving grace. But I think it's just going to be an app you literally click on, like NBC Sports Gold, and watch the games. I don't think there's anything.
It is, but there's something interesting I found when I was actually looking up some stuff with Kyle before you got in here. They made a deal with MGM Grand for gambling, and they're talking about embracing the in-game gambling aspect.
Like a DraftKings type stuff?
Kind of, yeah. So like where you can make halftime and not prop bets, but some
Bet in play stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that shit exploded 10 years ago in England. My God.
Yeah, so
they've actually gotten to a point where they're banning advertisements because it fuels the gambling addiction so hard that every halftime you would have like someone come on for like Bet365 and they'd be like, "You enjoying the game? You can get Didier Drogba to score next at 8-1," and people would like flow to their site to put it on.
How filthy!
So they've actually banned them now.
The biggest question I have about the app is what platforms it's going to be on other than mobile. Roku apps going to be rumored, but like Fire Stick, PlayStation, Xbox, I don't know what they're going to be able to. Because that's what because I will watch this from my computer. I'd rather not if given the choice. Yeah. And the only benefit to the watching on the computer is at least I can pull up 4 games at once when they're all
Actually, through Apple TV, I should be able to get it in the App Store.
Hopefully, and if that's actually a good point.
Because it mirrors.
Yeah, and you
what's
can
on your
and you can
phone,
always
so.
do you can always stream to like an Amazon Fire Stick or a Roku too.
Mm-hmm.
One of the really neat things that I think is probably going to be what makes this league the most fun. I just decided to slap NASA.
What? Well, we're waiting.
So, the play clock in the AAF, in the NFL, let's back up, is 45 seconds per play. That's what they get. At the end of the
But
play,
the countdown doesn't start until...
the ball's set. No, that's not true.
No.
As soon as the end of the play, 45 seconds starts.
Why is it I always see it starts at 35 down? Because
It's probably when they show it.
Yeah.
maybe that's why. Because I don't remember ever seeing 45, but I know
So
that's what it is.
45 in the NFL. I believe it's 35 in college.
But it stops at every first down.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
that's different.
Yeah.
So
In college, yeah.
in the AAF, they're going to have 30-second play clocks.
Ooh.
But would it stop on first downs and shit like that?
There's no point. There's no notes on that, so I don't think so.
That's crazy.
So that's like guy gets tackled. You have 30 seconds to snap the ball again
I
and
like
make your
it.
personnel changes. I like it too.
I like it.
Speed.
Speed and fast football.
I mean, they're saying that it's never going to be more than 2.5 hours, and they're going to cut commercials by what, 60% or 40%?
60%. There's going to be no television timeouts anymore.
Yeah, it's
Um,
Like commercials is the
That's
biggest
good
thing that puts me
commercials.
off.
Yeah, honest to God, if I see another like dilly thing, I'm gonna fucking.
I mean,
jump
it's the
out.
same reason why I struggle to watch WWE live these days. Is because of the amount of commercials. Like, it's the same.
That's
thing.
usually why, because I'll DVR it and fast
Yeah.
forward. So I think what's going to be really fun, and I think it might be why the West is sneakily going to be one of the better leagues at the beginning. That play clock's going to
One of the two. One of the better leagues.
Yeah, I mean, they have a 50-50 chance. But them being so offensive heavy, I think they're going to benefit because I think three of the coaches in the East are not offensive guys.
No.
Period. And so they're probably not going to run fast offenses, and they're going to have to be making personnel changes and then calling the plays and getting them in. And I don't see it benefit. The first few weeks it's going to be rough. I think.
I can see San Antonio really benefiting from that.
San Antonio, the Apollos, the Fleet, especially, and maybe the Stallions a little bit. Dennis Erickson, but it'll be in spite of Dennis Erickson probably.
Well, not the hot shots, bro.
No, not the hot shots, unfortunately.
So,
Pal, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you drew the hot
You're
shots.
gonna be watching.
Well, you guys are gonna laugh because, like, in podcasts like 20, you're gonna see that my team either the freaking legends, which I doubt it, but the hot shots will be in first place.
Wow, bold prediction.
Well, the season will be over in episode 20, so we'll play it by ear. Because there's only, 10 weeks, 5 episodes? Yes. Yeah, we'll be doing a season review. Because they have 10-week seasons. Well, the playoffs.
there's no bye week either.
That's freaking Fugazi League.
Makes no sense to do bye week anyway. But
Not with 8
just
teams,
saying.
no. What are some of the notes you had, Josh?
So I only had 2 more. One was something for us, and one was just a general point. Was they have confirmed they're going to bring in fantasy for this league, and I wanted to get your thoughts on what they're going to do.
Where?
Well, how are they going to implement fantasy with 10 days to go when fantasy is generally something you have to do prior?
Daily fantasy?
Do
Weekly
you think that's going to be it?
Maybe like DraftKings.
100%.
Yeah, I think it'll be that kind of fantasy. And if it picks up next year, it might be a real deal.
Someone will start making a proper website for it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that they're going on a different tangent for the fantasy and / gambling stuff.
It looks like they're embracing fully everything there is to the gambling part of it. Which
It's
is
tough to do a fantasy league though, because it would have to be like the most you can do is an 18 league because you only have 8 quarterbacks.
I mean, I think their best model they could use is a fantasy Premier League model, right?
Yeah.
You get given a budget and you have to spend to the budget.
That's
as
what
opposed to the-
DraftKings
What's that called in
do.
baseball?
Yes, yeah.
DraftKings
does the same
Salary
thing.
cap? Is it salary
It's like
cap
a
league?
salary.
It's essentially a salary
Rotisserie?
cap.
No.
Yeah.
Rotisserie. Is it rotisserie
No.
in baseball that you have the salary cap?
No, it's but still players get taken off the board. I mean,
When I play DraftKings, I have like a salary of
You
$50,000.
play a draft. Is it legal to gamble in North Carolina?
Yeah, I haven't won shit.
DraftKings
so
is allowed.
You can do it.
You can do DraftKings too.
I won $2 last week.
Don't.
So my last thing I wanted to do was we've just finished a nice little game of predictions and shown how shite we are. I was wondering if we could do the same with this.
Okay.
So without knowing a single real thing of what it's going to look like when they throw a football, let's predict the standings of the East and West
Ooh.
final standings.
Okay. So to reset the table, for those who maybe not know anything about the AAF, but hopefully you know more now, the West is going to include the Arizona Hotshots, the Salt Lake Stallions, the San Antonio Commanders, and the San Diego Fleet.
So let's start
Let's
there.
start with that then. Make it easy.
West. Kyle, I have you first.
Okay.
Who
Should we go from
is
bottom
gonna-
up?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nasta, but Arizona's going to come in the last. And then it's going to go Salt Lake City, San Diego Fleet, and I'm going with my San Antonio.
A shocker.
Yeah, I'm Homer. Fuck you.
San Antonio who?
San Antonio Commanders, my team.
Oh, the Commandos.
Good for you.
Yes.
Someone's got to back them.
No one else will.
There are dozens of
It's going to
you.
be so much offense.
Just remember the Commanders.
So, Mai, ready when you are.
Last place, Stallions. Third place, Hotshots. Second place, Commanders. First place, those dirty, filthy Fleet.
Brave.
Don't
Filthy.
stare at me.
Filthy, dirty Fleet.
Nasta.
I'm going last place, Fleet.
Ooh.
I'm
Mike
going.
Marks is spite of
Mike
you.
Marks is not
I'm
having
going
it.
Commandos.
Third? Oh, wow. You're just shaking it up.
I'm going Apollos.
No, you
That's
can't go
not,
with
I'm sorry.
Oh,
You got the Stallions and the Fleet.
oh, the
Stallions.
my bad. What the hell is
The Stallions and the Hotshots left.
Stallions?
I wasn't resetting the table for people listening.
Sorry, guys. That was my fault. Stallions and of course Hot Shots #1.
I like the even better prediction of the Apollos jumping leagues halfway through.
That'd be something.
And it's still
There's
not
a
winning.
trade.
Yeah, we don't even have the WWE guy.
There's a trade.
It's a heel turn.
So I am going to go with the Commanders rock bottom.
Oh,
Sorry, mate, but I don't know. There's something about them. Third place.
fuck off.
It's their ugly jerseys, probably.
Third place, I think the Stallions are going to snap that up. Second, I think the Hot Shots are taking that.
Thanks, bro.
I know not many have given you anything better than that.
Yeah, I know. I'll
And
take
yeah, unfortunately, I think the Fleet are going to do really well.
I'm
which
changing my
annoys
team. I
me
hate
incredibly.
this fucking Express now.
It's not very nice.
Alright, East. What do we got in the East there, Mr. Marty?
All right, should I start? I will. I think last place in the East is going to be, to the league's dismay, the Legends. So I think they wanted the Legends to be
Very good. Yeah,
the team.
Yeah.
they want them to be a hallmark.
Yep. I think third place is third place are the Memphis Express.
Cheap shot.
Second
Carry on.
place are those dirty, filthy Iron. The only team that doesn't end in an S. No, Fleet, sorry, just kidding. Oh, we hate both of the teams that aren't fucking plurals. And then Apollo's first, right? That's the only one
Yeah.
that left, yeah. So I'm going to say Apollo's first. And I think it's probably by 2 games. Go ahead and write that in there. They'll win the side by 2 games. Home field advantage. All right, Kyle.
Legends coming in last place. Too much shakeup.
Michael Vick is OC.
Yeah. They don't have any left-handed quarterbacks. I think. Fine. Tying for last place, the fucking Memphis Express. No, I'm joking.
that's not very nice.
I'm joking.
First time head coach of the Iron. Nope. Yes. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah. You know, I'm leaning towards. I'm gonna lean towards the Iron, grinding it out and just kind of. Ugh. I just don't know how good that's gonna be in that league.
So what position? You don't think that that's
That's
going to benefit?
they'll be third.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm going to go with the Express at 2 and the Apollos at 1.
Sound choice.
Should.
Nasta.
All right. Last place. Only one legend came out of Atlanta, and that was Hank Aaron.
Okay.
So, right?
Okay.
So, screw the legends.
Screw the
So,
legend.
that's my team, and they're in last place for sure.
It's gonna be funny that your loved and hated team are both gonna be fighting for 4th place.
The Apollo Creeds in number 3. Federal Expresses in number 2. And I'm going to go with Mr. Iron. Dick Buckus.
What if Nasta nails every pick?
It's the fucking hot shots.
The
versus the
AAF.
Niners.
No, including the Apollos going to the West and finishing third.
That'd be the best.
They finished
Yo.
third in both tiers.
There's going to be a trade. There's going to be a division trade.
Trading
They're going to trade.
Orlando for
The Salt Lake
the
Stallions.
Solid
Yeah,
Stallions.
Stallions are moving over. And then the Apollo
For San
Creeds.
Diego, because that makes more sense. But San Diego in the East. I don't think so.
God.
Remember the old NFC East?
Oh,
They want to get
Arizona
free,
was
they want to
in
get frequent
Yeah.
flyer miles. This is how they're going to gain.
All right, Josh.
Panthers were what in the West? I think?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we've got here. I think the Legends are going to finish rock bottom, like everybody else. Like you said, they feel cursed. They're exactly what they wanted them to be. They wanted them to be the Billboard team, and I think they're just not going to be. I think the Iron will come third. I think, similar to Kyle, I don't think that there's something. I think high-flying offensive football is going to be something that does really well in this league, and I don't think they're going to have it. And I think that they're just not going to be as good as everybody else.
Out football.
I don't think it's going to work in this league this first year at least, because people are going to want to be really excited to get audiences
yeah,
in,
and
and they're not going to be it.
And I think
They're
it'll
gonna
work
get torn
early.
apart.
I think that system will work early for like 3 games until
Maybe.
everyone gets their shit underneath them,
and then
they'll-
they could just get pounded.
yeah, they'll go
Yeah.
4-6 or something like that.
I think that just as much as they expect the Legends to do well, I think that the Apollos is also the fans' choice to do well, because the president is very active on social media, he's very active on Reddit and all that sort of shit, and all the fucking neckbeards love him. So I think for that reason, they're not going to be as good as they think they are, and I'm putting them at 2nd place. And clearly there's only one winner in the East, and that
The
is
San Diego Fleet.
the the Memphis Express, clearly. So I, for one, welcome our Express overlords.
You already have.
My prediction is that the Express are going to be excommunicated from the league halfway through the year.
That would be an interesting story to tell on this podcast, though, wouldn't it? Like, the rise and fall of the Memphis Express.
Well, and honestly, like long term, and I'd love to spend like 10-15 minutes on this, the potential of both them and the XFL figuring something out if both are relatively successful, because it'd be really interesting.
The rumors are already out there.
Maybe they'll merge.
The ideas are already there to
That'd be
merge
smart.
and do to a 16 team league.
Yeah.
Dude, if both teams are successful within the first 2 years of each league,
Yeah.
I guarantee.
Yeah,
There's no
too
reason
much
why they
damage.
won't at least talk about it.
Before we leave, I got a quick question.
Is it about tampons again?
No tampons. Soccer. I was reading something yesterday that I think Charlotte, the Panthers, I think ownership group is like holding some kind of meeting or something to think about getting MLS here, but playing at Bank of America Stadium.
Yes.
Now, hear me out. I know MLS is big, but not that big. Do you think a team here can fill a 70,000?
They wouldn't fill it.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry, 70,000 seats.
Only 2 teams in the league do. Period.
Yeah, is it like Portland?
3. I'm sorry.
Who?
Portland,
Atlanta.
now.
Atlanta is doing real well in
And
their
Seattle.
football stadium.
And
No, but the
and
Seattle,
LA,
but this,
LA do well too.
yeah, but I think
so.
LA
New
doesn't
York.
play in a true traditional football.
No, they
now
don't.
the football teams play now in that stadium until the new stadium's being
Yeah,
built.
the stadium
so, but
was
those
built
seats
for
are only
soccer.
what 30,000, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Now Atlanta, I have to go by Atlanta because they actually play in a true football stadium.
Oh, Seattle plays at CenturyLink.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what do you think? I know when these international games, and you guys are bigger soccer fans than I am, but I know when these international games come to Charlotte, it fills up, but those are those 1 or 2 games a year. But having like your 10, 15 games a season in the 70,000 seats, now they might do what they do in Jacksonville, no offense, they might rope off the,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think they would. I think they absolutely would. I think
Take off the upper bowl.
Yeah,
or do
take out the
half,
upper
or
bowl.
maybe just do the corners, rope off the corners, and then put
I'm not even sure they'd do that. I think they'd probably rope off the entire upper part.
Yeah.
And
Just see.
and that still would be like 40-odd thousand.
Yeah,
I think so. That's what I'm
probably
saying.
sell that.
You could fill 30.
I mean, I think there'll be a good coming. Don't get me wrong. I think it'll be the best way, and I think this new owner wants all the money as possible.
Well,
and
Charlotte
now you get
Independence-
an extra 15 games, having your stadium open maybe another 15 times a year.
Charlotte Independence does pretty well for itself, and they're
Yeah.
crap. And they play at like Sportsplex Matthews, and they get 4,000 people out there.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I
and
heard,
they're
yeah.
crap.
I think
So,
the
like,
benefit that Charlotte has
Maybe 20,000 on average, maybe
I would say if they were
30 to 40.
13 to 20.
at first. And I think if they start becoming
I think
better,
it depends
I
on
don't
how
think-
good they are.
Yeah.
Just like any team.
Definitely.
and of course, what teams come in? Your Portlands or your
Well,
Torontos or your
you play
New Yorks.
every team. Every team goes.
That's what I'm saying. So you're going to at least get a couple.
You're going to get LA. You're
So
going
you're
to
gonna
get
get-
Portland.
and
You're
those
going to
people
get
might-
They have a
Seattle.
built-in rivalry with Atlanta.
Yeah.
Charlotte was just named the number 1 city in America for millennials, or as a city attracting.
Yeah, I read
because
that.
it's growing so quickly.
Yes, it's
and the
growing
fact that
fucking
millennials
quickly.
are also on an absolute tear on adopting English Premier and world football, I think it's definite.
It
because
wouldn't be stupid.
Because
right?
what ends up happening, everybody that I know that's an FC Dallas fan is that's their side chick, and their
their
main
team is
chick is
Manchester
Liverpool
United,
or
Liverpool,
Manchester or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
And now
So-
you're starting to have the players,
And
because
there's a
they can watch
lot of-
everything on gold, they're
and-
starting to be like, oh, I like Burnley, I like Watford, I like Brighton.
And
Like,
there's a lot of bars in Charlotte
Yeah.
that actually show Euro leagues.
Yeah, Big Ben,
that Big Ben's, Jacks,
Hooligans.
I think
Hooligans,
it
and that
would be
other
great.
place.
And frankly, if they got a
you
new
went
MLS
to,
team, I would.
Elizabeth Street.
Jacks.
The other
that's-
Jacks. Yeah,
Which is a
Jack's
Charlotte,
place.
which is a Charlotte
Yeah.
Independence bar.
I'd consider getting.
I like to
season
see no.
tickets
Listen,
for-
I'm not a big soccer
Oh, I
fan.
would.
I like to see them here because we have Major League Lacrosse. We're gonna have Major League Soccer. I mean, I love hockey. I really wish we had a Major League Hockey and baseball team here. But I think right now, a
The
soccer.
Hurricanes are in Raleigh, right?
Yeah. And the Czech is here. Czechs do really well, and they
Yeah.
get a good amount of people every game
I
here.
think the problem is, I know that Charlotte was one of the few teams that was going to, one of the few cities that was up for an MLS team with
Yeah.
the next expansion. I think that Nashville beat them out. Nashville had a really good showing during the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Not this past summer, but the summer before, and that was kind of like a trial run to see like what cities it would do well in.
Part of the deal was also to upgrade the stadium and using taxpayers'
Exactly.
money and the cities and the people
And I-
living
and
here to
honestly-
play that shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if Dave Tepper says, "Oh, use my stadium,"
And
I
use my
guarantee City Council, tax, let's do it. Then
Yeah.
a couple years when we're selling out, I'm like, "Yo, let's build
Yeah,
something."
then they'll start.
Like with the Charlotte Knights baseball team. I mean, they were playing in South Carolina for so long, but they seen how good it was doing.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in to issue number 10. You'll hear from us in 2 weeks, where it'll be my corner.
Ooh.
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 Everybody get excited.
Nobody puts Marty
I'm
in
gonna
the
whip
corner.
y'all's ass. Nobody puts Marty in the corner and survives.
This is going to be just a whip Kyle's ass.
Have a good one, y'all.
corner.
Yeah, it will.
Oh God.